Right. Afternoon, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I always get nervous when I hear Americans speak before me because they sound unbelievably polished, and I always feel that if I ever turn to become a professional public speaker, I would need to learn an American accent because whatever you say just sounds better. It sounds more true. So bear with me for the next couple of minutes. As I said earlier, my name is Warren. I represent an agency, a South African agency called Demographica. We're a B2B agency. And today, the conversation that I want to have with you is the case for creativity in B2B. We hire people all the time, and one of the challenges we have at Demographica when hiring people, especially when they come out of B2C environments, is they say B2B is boring. B2B doesn't have the creative license that the counterparts in B2C has. So I thought about that, and at the agency for the last 6 months, we've been speaking about this intently, and there's a reason for this. And as I take you through the thinking behind this and why creativity is so important, and actually there is huge creativity in B2B, it's just not, the challenge is around how businesses make decisions. So the first thing when we think about is, when people think about B2B, when they think about B2B companies or decision makers in B2B companies, they feel that decision makers in B2B companies are rational and they're pragmatic. And in a lot of them, in a big sense, that's true. They make decisions on spreadsheets. They compare costs, they compare features, they compare benefits. And if you think about procurement departments, you'll have 3 or 4 suppliers pitching for a piece of business, and they'll compare all their costs and solutions in a spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet the spreadsheet will tell you which supplier is the one that you should buy from. So it's a very pragmatic, very rational decision. But the truth is, that's only 2/3 of the story because B2B decision makers are not robots. And there's a story that the chief procurement officer of one of South Africa's largest banks is a friend of mine. And this is the poster child for pragmatic and rational decision making. He's the type of guy that makes 100 million rand decisions off spreadsheets. He makes them blind. He doesn't even look at who the suppliers are. This is a spreadsheet decision guy. And I've actually seen him go through a very similar process when buying a new car, only to end up buying the most expensive BMW in the showroom with the black mag wheels. And why did he do that? Because it reminded him of his first car, and he wanted to show it off to his friends, who were his friends since childhood. That's an emotional decision. There's no rationality or pragmatism at play there. This is the same guy that behaves when he's buying on behalf of his company from a spreadsheet. So why do people do that? What happens? What's actually going on? So I said earlier, if you look at the bottom here, this is a typical purchase funnel where you have an awareness phase, a consideration phase, and a purchase phase. And the truth is, at the consideration phase and at the purchase phase, where we talk about it more colloquially as the middle and the bottom of the funnel, those are very rational decisions. That's where features are compared, benefits are compared, pricing is compared. Those are very rational, very pragmatic decisions. That's where your product or solution has to stand the test. This is where it stands up to scrutiny. But the truth is, it's at the top of the funnel where the emotion is at play. That's where the deep creativity is needed. That's what will swing a buyer. In B2B, and I see it all the time, and we represent big B2B brands, it's extremely commoditized. There's very little difference from bank 1 to bank 2, very little difference from RCT provider 1 to RCT provider 2. So why do people buy from bank 1 versus bank 2? Or why do people buy from this supplier versus that supplier? We think it's about chemistry. We think it's about emotion. And the reason why you don't have big emotion or big creativity at the top of the funnel is because marketers feel the need to water down emotional creativity at the top of the funnel. They tend to focus on the pragmatic stuff like USPs, features, benefits, pricing. How many B2B ads do you see? Okay, now I'm using the words deliberately here. How many B2B ads do you see that focus on product, price, solution, features. And the reason why I'm saying that is because those ads should almost never be seen, because stuff at the consideration and purchase phase of a funnel are generally below the line. The stuff that you see is above the line. That stuff should create this emotion. That stuff should create this chemistry. So why does this happen? Well, what is the reason for this? Now, this quote, nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. It's probably the most on point and insightful insight ever in B2B marketing. And if you're a seasoned marketer or an agency side marketer, you would understand this, that this is about safety. Businesses buy what is safe, right? So in order to understand this, we need to understand the psychology behind decision making when we make decisions on behalf of our company. Rory Sutherland, from the vice chairman of Ogilvy, says it brilliantly. He says that when we make a decision in business, now listen to this, when we make a decision in business, we are not primarily motivated by making the best decision for our business. Our deep down psychological motivation is to make a decision that is easy to explain, one that is easy to defend. Okay, why? Because we fear what's going to happen. So that's why we do so much research, data analysis, decisions by committee. Why? Because whatever happens as a consequence to our decisions are our fault. But if we make the decision, well, it was rational, right? The research supported my decision, therefore it must be right. These are very safe decisions to make. These are decisions that they make because they're logical and they're compliant, and that's just how businesses generally behave. Therefore, in B2B, we make decisions to minimize the risk of blame. That's why we hold so many meetings. You know, if 10 people approve a decision, the blame is shared if it goes wrong. If one person goes out on a whim, takes a gut shot and makes a decision and it goes wrong, that person could lose their job. So as we operate out of a place of fear, we operate defensively. If you think about it, if you think in B2B, if the company buys from Apple instead of HP or Dell, you are not allowed to say, I bought from Apple because I like Apple. You can't use gut, you can't use intuition. You have to say, I bought from Apple because the spreadsheet said 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Otherwise you can't buy. But even though you actually bought from Apple, even though on the spreadsheet it came out number 2, but you just wanted Apple. We see it at Demographica all the time. You know, if you buy from Demographica instead of Ogilvy, you are not allowed to say, I bought from Demographica because I like Warren. You've got to say, I bought from Demographica because on criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4, they ranked better than Ogilvy. But it's not always true. It's very seldom the case. You're forced to make decisions using entirely quantitative arguments. And David Ogilvy said it best, and that's why I have this slide here. People use research like a drunk uses a lamppost for support rather than illumination. Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. I'm going to play this ad. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Watch this ad.
I've had my ups and downs, my fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection, a pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics, and a mindset to master the most epic of splits. Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows, only time.
Jean-Claude Van Damme doing the splits across 2 Volvo trucks with Enya playing as the soundtrack in the background. No amount of research or data could ever justify such a decision. Sometimes I look at this stuff and I think, who approved this? Who put their neck on the line and said, if we put Jean-Claude Van Damme who's not even Swedish, by the way, this is for a Swedish truck brand, doing the splits across the truck, that's going to drive sales. Because what do the accountants in the room say? Where's the data? Where's the research? How are we going to measure this? To flight this ad is the opposite of saying no one got fired for buying IBM. If you think about the buying process for the purchasing of a fleet of trucks, it's a very organized and comparative process. All the competitor trucks offer similar cost to kilometer operating costs. They're all safe, they're all reliable. If you had to compare them on a spreadsheet, wins for Volvo in one column could be outweighed for wins for the competitor in another column. There's very little to differentiate them. Now, if people believe that B2B decision makers make their purchasing decisions purely on the basis of this type of spreadsheet comparison, you can therefore make the argument that any of that they would consider any brand. The Volvo Trucks campaign, however, catapulted Volvo into a position as the global leader in the truck manufacturing space. This campaign, by the way, cost Volvo $3 million to produce, and in return in excess of $170 million for Volvo Trucks. This requires the chief marketing officer of Volvo to make a decision based on gut, trust, instinct, and intuition. There is no data. There is no research to support why this campaign was a good idea. Look at this one.
And the problem is this: women are not making it to the top of any profession anywhere in the world.
Today is International Women's Day, and one Wall Street firm is marking the occasion by placing this statue, a little girl staring down the iconic charging bulb. The new image was put up by State Street Global Advisors. Powerful little girl.
Representing women's daily experience of having to face a ton of bull.
There's certain values like diversity that have a return.
The fact that the industry has acknowledged this fund is quite important.
The most famous girl in all of New York City.
La niña sin miedo.
People young and old are flocking to her. The fearless girl on Wall Street has already made a lasting impression.
The hottest selfie in town still.
As she's become a social media phenomenon, Fearless Girl has also become a broader symbol of female empowerment. 19,000,
25,000, 28,000, 30,000 people have already signed a petition to keep the statue here longer.
The Fearless Girl will be allowed to remain at her post.
Guys, this is a B2B campaign. State Street Global Advisors are an asset management business. We have many of them in South Africa. We have Stanlib, we have Allen Gray, we have Coronation, and so on and so forth. Where is the research and the data that said, if we put a statue of a girl in front of the ball in Wall Street, this will drive adoption of a fund that focuses on companies that have women-controlled boards? The data doesn't exist, right? That is not a rational or a pragmatic decision. This is a gut decision. This is an intuitive decision. This is about deep, creative intuition as to what will move people, what will move the target market. These two campaigns, the Volvo one and the Volvo Trucks one in State Street, these two campaigns ticked off every hard metric in a B2B campaign. Volvo Trucks was not the market leader at that point, and State Street was not the first investment firm to launch a women-focused fund. But these campaigns delivered huge success, largely because their deep creative execution captured the hearts and the minds of the world. They drove that top of the funnel awareness with deep creativity, creating emotion, and then forced it into the middle and bottom of the funnel for the rational, pragmatic stuff. Thank you very much.